You're tuned into Ronversations, the podcast where real talk meets real change, straight from the heart of Santa Fe. I am your host, Ronald S. Trujillo, candidate for mayor in the 2025 Santa Fe election. Ronversation dives into issues that matter most to our community, from public safety to affordable housing, local jobs to transparent government, and everything in between. No scripts, no spin, just honest dialogue and bold ideas for a resilient Santa Fe. This is a space for open conversation, real solutions, and a shared vision for our city's future. Glad you're here. Let's talk. Buenos dias, Santa Fe, and welcome to Ronversations. I'm your host, Ron Trujillo, mayoral candidate for the city of Santa Fe, now in 2025. And today, I'm honored to have as my guest, Lori Pearson Kramer. And Lori, dear friend, but also her son Sebastian, dates our daughter Christiana.
It's true. Yeah. For what, 8 years now?
8 years now, yeah. So it's been great. Your son is a joy to have. Just so you know that we really care about him. He's been a good kid. Wow. I still consider him a kid.
I know. He's 20-something. They're definitely still kids in my mind too. Yeah.
Lori, can you give us a little background about what you do here?
Sure.
In the city?
All right. Well, I actually recently maybe retired or took a sabbatical. I'm not really sure yet, but I'm a nurse midwife in town. Which is an advanced practice nurse. And I've been doing mostly women's health care and primary care for about the last 10 years or so. I stopped doing the baby catching thing quite a while ago just because the hours are kind of terrible, among other things. But yeah, so I'm on a break right now, but that's my career.
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I guess we want to dive into, with your career as to what is the city not doing, what is the city doing right, what is the city doing wrong when it comes to your profession, and how can the city be a better partner?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm not really sure there's an easy answer to. I hear constantly, especially among the patients of mine that I run into, just around town at the supermarket and stuff. I mean, a lot of them still haven't found another provider, and I left in September. So that's now going on 10 months. And, that it's a real problem. There's a shortage and, especially of primary care providers. I mean, it's a problem across the country, but in order to, build and recruit people to want to be here and stay here and take the time to build the practice and get to know people and really be a person who, is actually a primary care provider, not someone you see once and then they leave and then someone else comes and then they leave. And that's been a common problem in this city since I've been in healthcare, which is now going on 30 years.
Yeah, I had that same issue when I lost my doctor.
Yeah.
I would see, that one person this month. If I had another appointment, it was a new person.
Right.
So you never really got that relationship. Now I do have a primary doctor again, which is good because it's a one-on-one and we're all doing so. So that's a good thing. But like you're saying, when you talk about recruiting, and trying to bring people here, it's almost like the same thing we're dealing with, like police. How do we make Santa Fe attractive? What does the city need to do to say, hey, this is a great place to come work. Mm-hmm. This is a great place to raise your family, and this is a great place for your kids to go to school. This, as someone who grew up in Santa Fe, I love this city. It's a great city to grow up in, but at the same time too, there are things that the city could be doing better, to first of all, recruit people, make it attractive, but also for those of us that are here 24/7, making things that there are things to do. I've always heard from kids back in the day, Santa Fe's not kid friendly.
Right.
Those are the things that definitely under my administration we're going to try to look at things. One thing I just was reading the other day, I guess now that it's Swan Park, they're going to put a splash pad, which I was going to put a splash pad at Regal back when we passed the Parks bond. I had allocated $750,000 to do it. When I proposed it, people freaked out. They said, this is Santa Fe. You can't be using this water for that. People came out, so I reallocated that funding to build the skate park at Genoveva Chavez, which is great. We did. But now that I hear this, I'm glad that now there's that open line that people are seeing. These are things that are beneficial for the community.
And I would imagine there's a way to build a splash pad where it's the water
and that whole thing would have been recycled and all that.
Right.
But I guess too, you look at this is almost this is 2008.
Sure.
We're now in 2025. So
technology.
Exact technology and all that. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
so like that for kids, doing things. People know I brought the Santa Fe Fuego here. An entertainment venue. There's also talk right now about the city, people wanting to have our old remember the Palo Solari.
Yes, that
this
would
is
be
something
nice.
that people have been saying we need another venue. So this is something I want to work with county officials, state officials. Where could we build something like that? I think this is something, but again, it's got to be collaborative, effort between the county, the state, and the city. And if we can get federal funding as well to make something like that, to be attractive. It's not going to be no Red Rock, but
well, no, but I mean, this place is beautiful enough where we could do something. I mean, Palo Solari was amazing.
It was, and just thinking, yes, we had concerts in Albuquerque, but I think a lot of these musicians, when you say, Santa Fe, hey, I'd love to go do a show.
Well, sure, and this is just the perfect place for people coming through, playing bigger venues like
Most
in
definitely.
Houston or Dallas and then
Yeah,
LA and
they do have them at the casinos,
Right.
which is great that we do be able to see it. But to have an
Yeah.
outdoor arena, so that is something my administration will look at and all that. But again, making Santa Fe attractive so that we recruit people.
Sure. I mean, I think young families just really need support. I mean, we've raised our 3 kids here. And I don't know that I would say it was super supportive, and there wasn't a lot to do, and we had to pay, and we had to be creative, and we had to, get people together and create our own realities. So I would love to see, a person, and I know, Ron, from knowing you for 8 years now, I know your commitment to family and to this community is so strong, and I have always appreciated that, which is why, I strongly support, your candidacy, and I'm really excited and hope that, you'll stand out in this rather large group of people that are
I think I do stand out. I mean, you look at my background. I mean, I worked in construction as an inspector for the New Mexico Department of Transportation. I then oversaw the local government road fund coordinator and adopt a highway also at the district level. I then came back to the general office where I was in charge of the oversized loads coming into the state so they wouldn't damage the bridges. So I was always, looking at maintaining those bridges, ensure that. I then went on back to the general office as the fleet analyst, analyzing the biggest fleet in the state of New Mexico, and then ended my career as the line manager where we were in charge of purchasing, disposing of vehicles for the NMDOT, and as I said, the biggest fleet in the state of New Mexico. So yes, so I call it a smorgasbord of experience and life experiences as well. I was the coach at Santa Fe High. I coached Ortiz Middle School basketball, Santa Fe High baseball, the junior varsity and the freshman. Then I've been a coach in AABC. I coached soccer, even though at the time I had no idea what it was about. But thank God, we did have the internet. We were able to look at diagrams, pull out
basic rules. What is offsides? Can you explain it?
Well, those were the hard things. As somebody who never really played soccer, but you see the enthusiasm. About that. In fact, I've been talking to many people here, and I know Sebastian's very big into soccer. I know that. Having played in Spain and all that, that's the great thing. It's just exploded here in the United States.
Yeah, that would be one huge thing, I think. I mean, I know that what I love, I mean, I moved to Santa Fe when I was 23, and I chose this place as my home, as just a single young woman. And chose to, start my career here, went to the community college, get my nursing degree, went to UNM and got my master's. And the thing that I love most about Santa Fe is the diversity and just a unique multicultural experience that you really don't see in other places. So I feel like, that is the thing that I think attracts certain people to this place, is just the fact that it does have this flavor that not a lot of places do, you know, and the history and our commitment, I think, as a city to preserve it.
Exactly.
And I love the fact that you do that,
No,
you know, with fervor and also shamelessly, you know, and it's great to me.
And it's our history, and what I try to tell people, yes, you know, certain cultures, in my opinion, have been under attack.
Yes.
But when you look at Santa Fe, you look at the cultures that have made Santa Fe what it is, and continue, you know, the new cultures that are now calling Santa Fe home. As you mentioned, we're multicultural. You know, no other place in the world, you know,
Not
in
really,
my opinion,
no.
that you can say that, you know, and how it attracts people. People come here, they fall in love with the history, they fall in love with the food, they fall in love with the architecture.
Right.
You know, that's the great thing. That's the allure of Santa Fe.
Sure, and if we can make it, you know, more beautiful and do attend to the potholes, obviously, and the medians.
Not pothole-palooza.
No, but like, you know, I mean,
You
just,
got to be proactive, not reactive.
yeah, exactly. And just, you know, maybe employing some people to actually have this be their full-time job. And graffiti is another issue that I've seen step up
Yeah,
a
well,
bit
one of the
over the
ideas
years.
that I have is, well, I've already done it. When I was on the council, I was able to find funding during the Obama administration, which allowed for revamping medians. And if you were to drive up Rodeo Road and Zia, you can see that little section where they are. So, and at that time, that was part of District 4, which was my district. So we were able to do that. But I want to take it a step further, citywide. You know, you go to Rio Rancho, you go to Albuquerque, you see clean medians. You know, I've been telling people we're the capital city of the state of New Mexico, yet we don't look like one, yet we don't act like one. Under my administration, Santa Fe is going to start acting and looking like one, because when you drive into Santa Fe coming in from Albuquerque, what do you see? You see weeds, you see dirt. You know, I want to make Santa Fe attractive. You know, for those of us that are here,
Right.
you know, as well as people when they're coming in, they say, "Wow, look at how beautiful Santa Fe is." And as you drive down Cerrillos Road, you know, I want them to see beautiful plants. You know, drought tolerant, pollinator friendly too as well. You know, this is what's going to make Santa Fe, you know, not that it doesn't already stand out from another city, but it's just going to give it that extra allure and beauty, which it deserves.
Right.
As the capital city and as such a world-renowned city, you know, there are certain parts of Santa Fe that are very nice. You know, we all know where it is.
Yes, we do.
You know, that's the whole thing. We need to treat the entire city equally.
Yeah, and I think people need to take pride.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and take personal responsibility. I mean, that's definitely something, you know, I've tried to do. You know, just picking up the trash if I see it, or calling people out a little bit if they're,
even like,
you know, doing stuff.
We're talking about
to
potholes.
deface things,
You
right?
know, when I see that, you know, I see potholes all over the place, and yet they're not being fixed. And then when you call the city, well, nobody contacted us. I mean, that kind of bugs me, because you know, when I was a city councilor, anytime I would drive around, I would see a pothole, I would mark it down. I then, you know, tell my city manager. My city manager would then, you know, give it to the public works director. It got fixed within a couple days. You know, that's what's being, you know, proactive on these things. Now, when you call City Hall, you know, we'll get back to you, and if they don't answer, we'll get back to you in a week.
Yeah.
You know, that's unacceptable.
Right.
You know, 24 hours. You know, for you to call, and call back and let the person know that your message has been received, and that you are a priority, and that we're working on it.
Right,
You know,
and we need a leader who, you know, will, I guess, teach by example, if you will, you know, and just show that this is how it's done and that this is the expectation. You know, I think with our current administration here, that just has not been the case. I feel like there's been like sort of an absence, a void, you know, and I'm really excited to, you know that you could be this like face, you know, and someone who's accessible, and someone who really cares, and someone who grew up here, and someone who knows all the reasons why this place is so special.
And I think that's a big deal as well. You know, when you've called a place your home your entire life, you know, you have that bond to it. You know, and it's a special bond. And when you see that, your city just isn't the city that you grew up in.
Right.
It's changed in ways, and don't get me wrong, all things change.
All things change.
All things change.
Yep.
But at the same time too, there's still that keeping that respect, for the city, for the different cultures. Not denying history.
Right.
I've always said New Mexico history is complex.
It is.
It's not always good. It's not always bad, but it's our history.
And that would be true of our entire country, I would say.
Exactly. And the thing that I always tell, I always love the saying by Winston Churchill, a country that forgets its past has no future. I've always loved that saying. And that's the whole thing is, when I see here in Santa Fe, the obelisk getting torn down, I understand. I understand the reason, behind it. But again, where was the dialogue? Where were the stakeholders? Why weren't they all brought to the table? Only certain people were brought to the table.
Right.
That's the thing that with this, my campaign is all about collaboration. Bringing people to the table, having those discussions, and having the discussions that people may not want to have, because I want to be open about it. One thing about my administration will be very transparent. I'm going to be a mayor that's accessible, not one that just has meet the mayor, every month or every 2 months.
Right.
If I'm there, you come to the
well,
office.
you're kind of always out
I'm
and
always
about.
there. Well, that's the whole thing. That's the great thing with me and Amber. We're always throughout the city.
Yeah.
We're we try to attend as many things as we can. We try to help as many organizations as we can. But this is our home.
Right.
We care about it, and we just want to see it flourish.
Yeah.
And in the state it is right now, like I said, I'm not happy with what's happening with this administration. I'm not happy with seeing the city of Santa Fe as it is. What I want to do is, like I said, I want to get in there, start getting things fixed. I'm very much on the basics. That. I think right now there's so much that's still on the plate at the city of Santa Fe that they have not, implemented.
Yeah.
That there's enough for us to go back and say, okay, let's see. There's so many studies that have been done. Has anything happened with that? That's the thing we need to look at. Is it still viable that we continue looking at this? If it not, is there a fiscal how much is this going to cost? So these are things we need to, and that's what's going to happen is when I get in there, we're going to do a forensic audit, and that may take like 3 months. To do, but we are going to do it because we want to find out what's happening, what's working, what's not working in the city. And the thing that I've told people is we are definitely going to go out to all the different departments. And I even said, as mayor, I'm going to have like a little cookout, hot dogs, hamburgers for the employees, because I want them to tell me what's happening in their department, what's not working, and what is working. And I want them to feel that there's not going to be any retaliation. Because I think that's what scares employees. Well, if I speak out, in order for me to fix it, I need to know what's
and
what's
we
not
need
working.
to change that whole culture.
And that whole culture, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. The sad part about it is I met with the unions about a month ago, and the majority of them, they're not happy working at the city. And that saddened me because, I've been off the council now 8 years. Mm-hmm. And 8 years ago, Santa Fe, the city of Santa Fe was the best place to work. The best benefits. People were trying to get into the city from different,
I remember that. Yeah.
But now, when I hear them say, "I don't even want to work here," well, why is that? I tell everybody, I worked 25 years with the New Mexico Department of Transportation, 25 plus years, and why? Because I felt valued. I liked going to work. I enjoyed working at the NMDOT. That's the kind of culture that I want to bring back to the city of Santa Fe. Is that when I wake up in the morning, as a city employee, I'm happy because I'm going to the city. I'm going to go work. I enjoy my job, and there's a career ladder. That's the thing that we definitely need to look at, is making that career ladder and hiring more people.
Sure.
One thing I've been telling people is, I definitely want to, in the parking structures, we've all gone automated. I remember when there was that one-on-one, when you could go there, you get your ticket, you talk, and you just have a little conversation with the person as well. How are you doing? That needs to return. And again, it's creating jobs.
Yeah, I think creating many situations where people can start interacting with people again would be super great. Just COVID has, I think, just put a negative sheen on all of that, as has, just our national worldly problems of social media and stuff. We need, community. that's what we need in our community, which is just
the community and respect. You know, that's,
yes.
you know, so let's try to go back to, you know, so we talked about, you know, making Santa Fe more attractive, you know, recruiting, you know, and one thing we're trying to work on affordable housing. You know, that to me is one of the biggest issues on, you know, how, if we're going to bring people in at the same time too, how are we going to keep those people that are born and raised here living here as well? You know, one of the issues we had, that we did, is we had purchased the Northwest Quadrant back when I was on the council, and we were going to build affordable houses. And it seems like after I got off the council, nothing came to fruition of it. And then I started hearing that the city started selling off parcels of it. And I said, you know, what's going on? You know, this parcel of property was supposed to be strictly for affordable housing, and now we've totally, you know, here you know, the city, we talk, we give good lip service that we're going to do affordable housing, but yet when we have the property, nothing gets done. You know, and I do see all these apartments going around Santa Fe, and that's great. And a lot of people are always, Ron, where's the water? Where's the water? You know, we do have the Buckman diversion. You know, we do have water from the Chama. I do know that, but the thing about it is, I want to concentrate now on affordable housing, but that's the thing that I keep on telling people. Affordability never had been defined, because what's affordable to you may not be affordable to this person. What's affordable to that person may not be affordable. You know, so that's the whole thing, is like, you call it affordable housing, you know, 180,000, 200, you know, that's what they consider affordable. That's not affordable, you know. So we've got to find that median where it's affordable for everyone down the line. Not, you know, not just people that make 300,000. You know, you got to look at people. Some people are only making 60,000.
Yeah, I mean, 40, we need a community that has, you know, all types of people in it to keep it, you know, with the beautiful flavor that it has. I mean, there's in some ways I feel like two Santa Fe's, you know, and that breaks my heart a little bit.
And we talked also about infill too. You know, there are parcels in the city of Santa Fe that we can. I know we can, but the word that comes into the thing is called NIMBYism. I think we've all heard that. Nobody wants it in their backyard. You know, and that's the thing too. You have to have that dialogue. You have to reach out to the neighborhood. You have to show them exactly what is going to happen, because sometimes I think unless you show a diagram picture as to what is going to be there, people are just, wait a minute, you know, you're going to encroach on this property. It's going to take away my view. It's going to take away, you know, the allure of where I moved. But the thing that I try to tell people too is, you know, your house was probably, you know, at the time was probably, nobody wanted your house built there at the time. So this is the whole thing. If you don't have those conversations, you're never going to come to a solution, and you're just going to be going around in a circle. You know, and that's what I see a lot of times in some of the issues that have come before the city council dealing with land use. They don't want it built. You know, it would go back. We'd send it back. It'd come back. I mean, it was just a revolving door, back and forth, and finally contractors would finally say, I'm done. I can't deal with this no more. And they would drop it. And when it would have been a great thing for them to have built. You know, another issue we're having at the city hall too is it's always been permitting. You know, people want to streamline an easier way. And I think, you know, with this forensic audit, we're going to be able to, you know, address, like I said, what's working, what's not working.
Well, if you have goals, and your goal is, say, affordable housing, and your goal is beautification, and your goal is, well, let's just use those two, because that's what we've mostly talked about. I mean, then, you streamline the possibility of those two things to happen more readily and quickly, you know. I mean, I think that would be not so hard to do.
I don't think it'd be so hard to do. And the thing about it, you have to bring in knowledgeable people that understand it. You know, this is what they studied, so they understand it, you know, better than I would. You know, so that's why I would, you know, rely on their experience, rely on their professionalism, you know, to help us. That's what I tell people. You know, when we hire people, we are going to hire professional people that understand, that know their job, that know what's going on. And that's the thing too that I want to be able to with our city workers as well. And in talking with them, you know, I want to ask them, well, you know, what are you lacking? What don't you have? Because you got to give your employees proper training. You got to give them the proper tools. You know, you got to make them know that they are valued and that that my administration is, hey, we're going to do whatever it takes to make your job easier.
Yeah, and if we have high quality jobs and
Yeah.
interesting jobs and creative jobs like that, that will also help recruit healthcare workers, just to come back to that, because, most healthcare workers have a partner or a spouse, or, and some of them have some really interesting expertise.
Yeah. Well, I think that too, as and also going out, not only in the healthcare, but, are there other businesses? We need to make Santa Fe a business-friendly community.
Yes.
That we welcome businesses. We want you to come. We want you to flourish. We want it to be the right business. So those are the things that I definitely want to work with. In my administration, the outreach to our businesses.
Yeah, and
to
this
show
whole
them,
outdoor push that New Mexico is doing. I was reading an article in the New Mexican the other day about that happening in some other towns in the state. And that's a really cool thing to really be pushing too. Getting more outdoor enthusiasts. Those types of businesses.
Well,
too.
that for my very first podcast, it was about high altitude training.
That's right.
I want to promote Santa Fe as a high altitude training spot, because you look at Colorado Springs, where the Olympics, they're at 5,000 some hundred
we're
feet.
higher.
We're at 7,000 feet.
Right.
To me, and when Lemec, who was the Olympic runner who I had the interview with, he talked about that, about how the air here in Santa Fe, just it makes you stronger, and how he's brought people, from his home to train here as well. So like you said, here we're talking about outdoor things. We've already got bikers coming here. We've got a great trail system.
Right.
Again, these are things we promote Santa Fe.
Yeah, and if the schools can really get involved in that too, just doing outdoor education with young people, it promotes health, it promotes fun, it promotes community, friends, all the things. I think that's a really nice thing to be concentrating on, and we have all the infrastructure really already, these beautiful mountains, and
I think we need to promote it a lot to those of us who live here, because there's a lot of people that don't know that they have the Atalaya trails. They're like, really, we have that?
Yeah.
When I brought the Santa Fe Fuego, there's still people. Santa Fe has a baseball team. Yeah, we have a baseball team. 14 years here now. These are the things a lot of people don't know. We have to more, better. The city has to do a better job of promoting it. Not only to the outsiders, to those, like I said, those of us who call Santa Fe home, because there's a lot of special gems here in the city of Santa Fe that people aren't aware of, and we need to make them
maybe
aware
like a whole PR department, just people whose sole purpose is to just promote what's going on, because that has been a problem. There's several calendars online and here and there, and I'm always like, what's going on tonight, you know? And it's really not easy to find that information sometimes.
And sometimes there's a lot of things going on, you've got the rail yard, you've got the plaza.
I know.
When my brother-in-law's band Ozo Motley came to town, we were over there, of course, but there's other things going on. That's the neat thing about Santa Fe. There's always something going on. Right now the opera's going on. That's a big thing here for people here in Santa Fe to come to. So like I said, there are a lot of things here in Santa Fe to do, but I think if that's not your thing, opera, you need to, we need to look at, around, and like I said, do that, look at what people really want, happening here in Santa Fe. Opera's great, the rail yard's great, but there are more things we will be doing, in my administration.
Wonderful. Well, I'm really excited about the possibility of you being the face of our city and being our fearless leader, because having known you, for as long as I have, and knowing your commitment, it's just been such a beautiful thing to watch, and to know about you and your family. And now that our families are kind of melded,
exactly.
I'm kind of, what can I do to help? I hope I'll have some role somewhere, just trying to figure out how to make this place, or continue to make this place the wonderful home that it's been for me and my family. and then so many other people that I know.
And I think that's the whole thing we talked about outreach. That's one thing we definitely we're going to go out to the public. What can you do to make Santa Fe,
right?
A better place. How can you help? These are things that we definitely.
And we have our problems. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, with our unhoused people, like what are we going to do there? I mean, there's got to be some better solutions.
And again, it's going to be collaboration. It's going to be having those discussions with the county because we all know Pete's Place will eventually move, but to where?
Right.
And when you're talking about that, you need to find a place where it doesn't have an ill effect on residents. It doesn't have an ill effect on businesses.
And maybe has
schools.
Space for more services.
Exactly. Well, that's the whole thing. We need to find a place that can have the homeless shelter there, but that next door you have and I know that they've been talking about that. So that is something that it's probably going to fall on more than likely will fall on my administration, and we are committed to finding solutions because like I said, everybody in Santa Fe, everybody is important.
Right.
We care about everybody, and we treat everybody with respect. So that is definitely, but I definitely look forward to you being on the campaign with us. Again, thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Having this dialogue. It's always good to have citizens of Santa Fe come and talk, and we just have this nice dialogue.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate it very much.
We'll just keep it going.
Okay.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Adios, Santa Fe. Till we meet again.